Hi friend, Jean here with a few thoughts to share with you before we jump into the episode. One of my favorite principles of holistic education is this. We offer children an experience before we provide the explanation. Instead of beginning with information, deeper learning begins with an experience. Drawing, building, singing, creating. When we engage our hands and hearts before our heads, understanding follows naturally. And that's true not only for our children, but for us too. That's exactly how we learn together at the Taproot Teacher Training for Homeschooling Parents. We don't just talk about the lively arts, we experience them together. At Taproot, you get to be the student for once. And that changes everything. If you're craving 4 days to reconnect with your creativity, deepen your homeschool practice, and learn alongside a wonderful community of holistic homeschooling parents, I'd love to invite you to join us August 6th through the 9th at a summer camp in Northeast Ohio for the 20th annual Taproot Teacher Training. You'll find all the details at artofhomeschooling.com/taproot. The Taproot team and I can't wait to welcome you in August. You're listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. If you're anything like most homeschooling parents, somewhere around the middle of July, something starts to happen. You begin thinking about the upcoming homeschooling year in earnest. Perhaps you've been browsing curriculum or even purchased some. You're adding books to your cart, making Pinterest boards, sketching out schedules in a notebook. Those are all part of the planning process, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know I love planning. Planning isn't the problem, but planning without first observing the child is what gets us into trouble. So today, I want to offer you a gentle reminder before you get lost in the weeds of planning. What if the most important thing you could do right now is not plan? What if it's to pause? This episode is your Midsummer homeschool reset you didn't know you needed. You can find the show notes that go along with this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 264. Summer has a different rhythm to it for sure. It's more open, more flexible. We've had a little distance from our usual routines when we take summers off. Our children have grown, we've grown, and that little bit of space gives us something incredibly valuable: perspective. Instead of rushing ahead into next year's plans, this is a wonderful time to simply notice. Even if you've already started your planning, it is a good idea to step back for a moment. Here's my invitation to you. Reconnect with the child standing in front of you. Not the child they were in April or the beginning of last year, not the child you expect them to become in September. The child they are today. What are they fascinated by? What stories keep capturing their attention? What skills seem to be emerging naturally? Where are they still asking for your help? Sometimes we become so focused on preparing lessons and what comes next that we forget to observe the learner. And observation is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves and our children as homeschooling parents. Here's something I think we often miss. We want to look for growth, not gaps. When we finish a school year, it's easy to notice everything we didn't accomplish. The math pages we skipped, the history book we never finished, the projects we meant to do. But summer gives us enough distance to ask a different question entirely. How has my child changed? Not just academically either. As a whole person, are they more confident, more curious, more capable, more thoughtful? Those kinds of changes matter just as much, maybe even more, than finishing every lesson. Because that's what learning is, making progress in acquiring new skills, knowledge, and behaviors through experience. One of the reasons I love the Waldorf approach so much is that it begins with the child instead of the curriculum. The question isn't limited to what should a fourth grader study? The deeper question is, who is this child becoming? Every stage of childhood brings different developmental needs. Children don't simply learn more and then more and more. They learn differently as they grow. Young children learn through movement, imitation, play, and story. Elementary age children thrive on imagination, beauty, the arts, and meaningful connections. Older students gradually awaken to that abstract thinking. They're questioning and discovering their place in the world. When we understand those developmental shifts, planning becomes so much simpler. Instead of trying to make our child fit the curriculum, we can choose experiences that actually fit the child, and that profoundly changes how we see teaching and learning. So I want you to let development guide your planning. Looking back over our homeschooling years, some of my best planning never happened at a desk. It happened while taking a walk, watching one of my kiddos build something, listening to the questions they kept asking, reading together, simply paying attention. The plans came at some point, but observation came first. So before you order another curriculum, before you color code another planner, before you map out an entire homeschool year, give yourself permission to simply observe. Watch your child, your children. Listen, notice, be curious. Because before you make plans for your homeschool, you want to understand the child you're planning for. That's exactly why my team and I created the free Holistic Homeschooling Ages and Stages Guide. It walks you through each stage of child development from kindergarten through 8th grade and helps you understand why certain learning experiences are so powerful at different ages. It's not another curriculum. It is a lens, a way of seeing your child with fresh eyes before you begin making decisions about next year. So you can discover what each child needs, create a personalized homeschool, and gain confidence as a homeschooling parent. When you understand the child, planning becomes so much easier. Decisions you need to make are simpler. If you would like a simple way to help see your children more clearly, download my free Holistic Homeschooling Ages and Stages Guide. It will help you see your child with fresh eyes before you make decisions about what comes next. You can download the free guide at artofhomeschooling.com/free guide. Thanks so much for joining me today. And until next time, remember this: homeschooling doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. Keep growing alongside your children. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.